Now, I'm pretty sure we're going to be live in a minute. And 3. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, my phone says we're live.
Ding!
Yeah, so we're definitely live. We're going to be live. And let me use this bad boy here. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, my... Alright. So that's that. Welcome to City Talk Fall River. This is Trot.
Nikki.
Nikki over there. Derek is out. He's on the injured list today. But we're actually about 25 minutes behind schedule because, yeah, 25 minutes behind schedule because...
2 weeks and 25 minutes?
What's that?
2 weeks, 25 minutes?
Sure, sure. Oh yeah, we have been behind schedule about 2 weeks and 25 minutes, but the reason why we are late, it's a good reason.
True enough. Life got in the way.
Life got in the way. So a friend of mine on my Facebook page sent me a copy of Mr., or you can call him Judge, right? The good judge?
Depends wonderful judge. Depends on what city council is and who the mayor is, by the way.
Yes, 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 yes. Because we remember
who the mayor is.
Well, we remember when Sam Sutter hired.
Oh, the greatest judge we have ever seen.
He invented what judges are, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, there's a book in the Bible called Judges, and I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on this. Judge Macy was somewhere in there. Well, that's how it was seeming like when...
Well, I mean, he was quoted constantly. Everybody had faith. Linda Pereira had great faith.
Experienced performance.
Absolutely.
Mr.
Yes,
Mr. Ray Mitchell himself.
They took his word
as gospel
over everything.
When Sam Sutter was the mayor.
When Sam Sutter was the mayor.
However, when Judge Macy...
And not just Linda Pereira, because she is not a current city councilor.
However, when Judge Macy was retained by Jazel Correa, Mr. Ray Mitchell and Mrs. Linda Pereira had a very, very different view of the situation when they were arguing over pay-as-you-throw, when they were arguing over different articles of arguments and things like that. All of a sudden it was, well...
Take it to court.
Yeah, take it to court. The 12, was it 10? Was it 10 taxpayer suit?
The 10 taxpayer lawsuit that Mitchell was a part of. He used the word we at the courthouse.
He challenged Judge Macy. Judge Macy was opinions were no longer gospel. As a matter of fact, I remember calling Ray Mitchell's show on WSAR a couple of years back when he was saying at first he had a lawyer, a friend that said that this was not legal as far as privatizing the hauling of trash. Then he had a friend. Then he had a friend who was a judge. And then it increased to like 4 judges. Do you remember? I mean, I remember all this.
Friends.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, wow, just a year ago,
he was so certain that
when Ray Mitchell was supporting fees and taxes and bags and everything put on you,
the illegal trash tax,
Judge Macy's word was gold and gospel. And then when Mayor Jazel Correa becomes the mayor, all of a sudden Judge Macy needs to be challenged at all times. There should have been consistency all the way across the board. You want to challenge Judge Joe Macy, you don't want to challenge him, whatever it is, just be real, be honest, instead of being a opportunist. That's all. Isn't that what we're really saying?
True enough.
Thank you very much. Anyway, I get a letter, or I get a copy of the letter sent to me on my Facebook wall, and it says, Attorney Kilby, attention Attorney Kilby. Oh, I'm sorry, not attorney. Counselor Kilby. He's an attorney.
He is.
But Counselor Kirby, which is Kilby, Brad Kilby. Right. Brad Kilby. I'm a little excited today. And this goes down to talk about pay-as-you-throw. So Counselor Brad Kilby, was posing the question during a council meeting. Can the mayor eliminate pay-as-you-throw by executive order or through his ability to make or break contracts? The answer to the question is neither simple nor straightforward. First, there is no defined, quote, pay-as-you-throw program in our ordinance, and I will pause there. Go ahead, Nikki.
Told you so.
There you go. We did shows, not just a show like recently within the last month or so.
It's been the last 4 years.
Right. Since pay-as-you-throw has been really argued about, we've always maintained that the city bag, quote, city bag.
Official.
Official city bag was never deemed as pay-as-you-throw.
It wasn't.
It wasn't distinguished as that.
Pay as you throw is a bag metering program. The purple bags are the bag the city chose to purchase to call the official city bag. The definition of official city bag has zero to do with the pay as you throw program. They are not the same.
So, but that definition has been tried and
right.
tried to be used.
A lot of people do think that the purple bags equal pay as you throw.
And ordinances have been attempted to be pushed through under that premise.
Well, they have been. But again, every ordinance they've tried to push through has never addressed pay as you throw, as I told Cliff Ponte in a message about 2 years ago.
When he first won.
Yes.
When he first won.
Yes.
And he actually reached out to you.
It was prior to him winning the first election.
No, he actually reached out to you. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
And he was asking questions because he knew that you were very knowledgeable.
And I have all the messages to back it up, so if anybody even wants to say, no, I didn't, I say
that. You learned him on a lot of this stuff, and then he still went in the opposite direction, correct?
Okay. He chose to listen to somebody else.
Very nice. So anyway, let's go back to the letter, and I'll go through this whole letter now. So I'll go back to this first, and this is Judge Macy to Counselor Brad Kilby. First, there is no defined, quote, pay-as-you-throw program in our ordinances. Although referred to in the Waste Zero contract, the term is not defined therein. Second, our ordinances only define a, quote, official city bag as, quote, a trash bag authorized to be used by the city for the disposing of solid waste into a green cart. Ordinance 62-1. The city shall collect solid waste.
Shall.
Shall.
The city shall.
The city shall collect solid waste, quote, only if placed in an official city bag and placed in a green cart. That's Ordinance 62-2, Section C, Appendix A, 110-12, sets the fee for the 3 sizes of the, quote, official city bag, but does not define the same.
There is, even if it defined an official city bag, defining an official city bag does not equal a bag metering program. They are not one in the same. There are plenty of ways to meter trash. The purple bags, pay as you, and that's where Waste Zero, I guess, comes into, like the bag manufacturing companies use pay as you throw to sell their bags. That's why a lot of people, I think, merge the two. There are 2 totally different entities because the official city bag could be a green hefty bag. There is no definition.
The letter continues. The pay-as-you-throw program, as commonly termed, but not statutorily defined, is basically a creature of the, quote, purple bags contracted for with Waste Zero. That contract expires in July of 2019.
Pay attention to what he says here, guys.
And can be renewed at the city's option, but renewal is not automatic, nor does notice of non-renewal need to be given. There are termination provisions within the contract which could be invoked by the mayor at his option. Therefore, and this is Judge Joe Macy, I say it again, I'm quoting him, therefore it is my opinion that there is no defined pay-as-you-throw program established in our ordinances. Hi, Nikki.
I've been asking him for that opinion for 4 years. Well, or since I've been asking the city for that opinion.
I really wish.
I've said over and over again. To me, it was like a bomb explosion that he finally admitted there is 0 pay-as-you-throw ordinances, guys. I've been telling you this for a long time.
Hey guys, let's go find the landlords on this pay-as-you-throw thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, therefore.
Hey, and before they even, I have to interrupt you.
By all means.
Because to stop them from that embarrassment, I wrote to Steve Long, to Brad Kilby, and I wrote to Brad Kilby before he posed this question. So maybe that's why he posed the question, because he did get the information I sent him. I did not get a response from Brad Kilby. I did not get a response from Steve Long. I have spoken back and forth through messages with Cliff Ponte and Pamela Liberty LeBeau. And still, they thought there was a pay-as-you-throw ordinance.
I'm going to repeat this just for you, Nikki.
I just had to say that.
Therefore, it is my opinion that there is no defined pay-as-you-throw program established in our ordinances. Those ordinances which do exist cannot be obviated by, quote, executive order. Even that was something that we talked. That's something that I was able to, like.
Ordinances can only be changed within the city council.
No, I asked Mike Mioza that question directly. Is there even an executive order that he can even pull this off? And he's like, no. So anyway, those ordinances.
But he didn't have to. That's the brilliance.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not an ordinance.
Right.
Those ordinances which do exist cannot be obviated by executive order.
Exactly.
Even though the initial, quote, program was initiated by executive order, interestingly enough. However, the mayor can unilaterally cancel.
Unilaterally.
I did say that correctly.
I just wanted to repeat it. Hashtag.
All right. Let me get the sentence out. However, the mayor can unilaterally cancel or not renew the current contract, which is something that.
Right.
Now, Jordan on his big Facebook page in Fall River was going on and on and on, and he was really harping on the fact that the mayor purposely gave the city council an opportunity to vote yes or no to keeping the purple bags in the contract when he did not have to. And I think that most people who are kind of wary of this situation sees that the mayor was attempting to do some political gamesmanship.
Absolutely.
Right? So there was some
for the next election.
So there was some political gamesmanship being performed by the mayor in that situation. So he was being called out on social media.
The city council is doing the same thing, though. They're doing the exact same
thing. We know, it's been well documented that the city council's gamesmanship has been going on for quite some time, even before Jazel was the mayor. But when what we're seeing in this situation is, first Jazel presents the contract, the budget, I should say, and it has no pay-as-you-throw in the budget. But he gives the city council some rope to say, but if you vote to keep it in, then it's on you. And so the city council, for whatever unfathomable reason, decided to just do it, and they voted, okay, yeah, not only will we bring it back, but we'll also fine the landlords. Probably the dumbest thing I've seen so far.
Because there's no pay. Why are the fines getting thrown out of court? Again, I'll say it, because there's no pay-as-you-throw ordinance, man.
So the gamesmanship by Jazel Correa and the city council falling for this, it was being called out on social media, which is fine. So I got involved in a conversation because I wanted to actually get some real conversation going. I don't need to get into the conversation of this one's evil, this one's horrible, this one sucks. I want to talk about the information, right? So the information that I wanted to come in with is, first I checked in with Mike Mioza, who I think is the #1 resource to talk to if you have any questions about the charter. The new charter, I should say. And probably the old charter too. So he says I asked if there was an executive order that could be done, because I came up with the idea of an executive order because, exactly as it says in Macy's letter, it was implemented through executive order. So I'm thinking maybe it can be implemented out by executive order, but it could not be done. So I wanted to actually make note of that, and then just let everybody know that this contract ends in 2019.
And that's what I stressed. Like, the whole idea of the city council trying to stop this contract. Like, there's no excuse. We can say Jazel did put it in the hands of the city council. But I say it over and over, I'm just a resident who looked into the information. Had I been a city councilor, I would have done the same thing. They didn't do their homework. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been pushing a pay-as-you-throw program when there was 0 ordinances.
There's another angle of this too, and this is something that I talked about as well. The government structure, the way that the city structure is, the city council cannot increase a budget. They can only reduce a budget. So they didn't even really honestly have the authority to bring pay-as-you-throw back, because that would qualify as increasing the budget. And as a matter of fact, there was documentation that literally showed the city council increasing the budget based on not...
Well, it was like blackmail. If you don't put the pay-as-you-throw revenue back into the budget, we're not passing it.
And that part is really where I think Jazel, if he chose to continue with the gamesmanship, he probably would have came out on top in that situation, because obviously I believe, and I think you believe, and maybe I don't know if we're the same opinion, majority of the city does not want the purple bags.
No, nobody does. So
it could have been presented as, instead of going through this route of gamesmanship, he should have just said, "Hey city, hey voters, hey everybody in Fall River, your mayor wants to get rid of the bags. Your city council is holding up government process right now because they want to keep the bags. Let your city council know what you think of this." And that's it.
The game is upsetting me because it is a game. Mm-hmm. Because the end result is, we already know, I'm almost certain he's headed for a transfer station. And the thing is, when the transfer station question was asked of voters, they passed it overwhelmingly. They were interested in a transfer station.
Right.
So right then and there, Jazel could have came down during one of the meetings and said, "Guys, I know you really want to keep pay as you throw. The voters want a transfer station. I'm looking into a transfer station. Can't we do this?" And that's what's wrong with the city. That's what's wrong with city council. That's what's wrong with the mayor, over and over and over again, is they know what the end result is going to be. Again, I'm just a resident and I can see it a mile away.
Yes.
So you're not telling me they can't see it in their seats. So the fact that the city council was trying so hard to hold on to this program when they knew no matter what the contract was going to end. How many times did I say this contract's going to end? The contract, the city council can't tell the mayor he has to enter into the contract. Without that contract, there's no need for a pay-as-you-throw it just unravels.
Right.
And they know this. So they used it, and Jazel knows this, and he used it. So just in much the same way, like he wrote that letter to them, "Okay, I put the pay-as-you-throw revenue back in, but you can't spend it."
Uh-huh.
So, and I said to what did I post? You can't spend it because we're not going to get that revenue. We have 90 days. After 90 days into the last and final year of the contract, he can end the program. Read that letter again. Judge Macy says he's going to end the program and can because of the contract. Even if the ordinance stays, and the thing that irritates me with the city council is they're going to keep talking about the ordinance.
When you say ordinance, can you put quotation marks?
Yeah, ordinance. Well, I have been.
I appreciate that.
When they talk about the ordinances, our solid waste ordinances, and are they legal, I remind you again, we still have ordinances on the books, even with the new charter, for the incinerator. We don't even have an incinerator, and we still have those on the books. So don't come to me pretending our ordinances are so wonderful when, one, you're not following them, two, you're not even taking out the ones that we don't even use anymore. You're not even caring that much just to do that little amount of work. So how can you turn around and want to get into contracts? It's like a joke. So I can't stand the fight, because the end result is we're getting a transfer station. And the taxpayers are going to end up screwed somehow, with city council voting to fine them if they don't pay. Because that's just what it is.
You know it's hot here?
Yes.
It's August. Did you know that?
Yes.
It's hot. It's getting, you were about to say it's getting hot here.
But then I was.
It's not. It's a family show.
Line, I know the second line. I was like, if I say that, then everybody's gonna be like, oh.
All right, so I had to get the fan. I had to get the fan over here because not only is it
fans always wanna.
Not only is the weather hot in here, but this conversation.
Because it drives me crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's got you all worked up.
You know the movie Groundhog Day?
Yep.
Where it's the same. That's just what I feel like. Yeah. Although this, to me, this letter from Macy is gold to me.
Yep.
Because he is announcing, finally, right? I've been asking for this opinion. Please write me a ticket. Let's go to court. We don't have to.
True.
Judge Macy admitted clearly, and hopefully everybody realizes, there is no pay-as-you-throw ordinance. And here they go, if they want to fight it and still go deeper, oh, let's change the ordinance so there's a new definition of official city bag. Well, you gave the director of the DCM the power to decide what the official city bag was, so the city council can't even decide to do that.
KP.
Who's no longer KP, but this is the thing. They were so in love with KP that they gave the director of the DCM all that power.
They sure did.
And now where's KP? School committee. School council, school department.
Yeah, school department.
Building a new high school.
Speaking of ordinances, you and I, yeah, you and I went through some of the ordinances before the show started.
Yes.
We were in conversation about Jazel taking vacations.
Yeah.
Mayors in general, when they...
Leaders, managers, leaders, any kind of...
Let's just start small. Let's just start at McDonald's, okay?
We start at Dunkin'. That experience.
I worked at McDonald's, I worked at Burger King and Stop and Shop. You worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm sure many other places as well. So, let's just start at...
opportunities and prevention.
Let's just start at these smaller jobs that don't have ramifications of government at all. If I am a manager of that office or that building, I need to notify the assistant or the next person in line to make sure that everything runs the right way, correct?
Right.
So, according to our charter, and, you know, we should be following the charter. I think sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. I think we should be. The people voted for it, right?
Politicians use it when it's convenient.
Yeah. It's like when I argue NBA with people and they want to pull up their statistics to support their argument, and then I pull up my statistics. It's like, well, I see it this way and you see it this way. No, really, in all reality, the charter should be very cut and dry and very clear as to what we are supposed to be doing. The mayor is supposed to inform, or at least it's implied, that he should be informing the city council, because the council president technically is the next person in line if the mayor is absent. Not the city administrator. The city council president, which right now is Cliff Ponte. So...
But there's other ordinances that might negate that.
But not in this situation.
I think it might, because of that first provision for the mayor, that he can give orders to people who work for him to take over his duties.
So you're saying that there's a debate as to whether or not he can follow that ordinance or follow the state law?
I'm saying that it could be, that could be something that could be up for interpretation and could be so cloudy that nobody is willing to take up the issue. There's no end result with the issue.
My issue there, Nikki, is that even though our ordinance says one thing, our state law says another when it talks about the absence of the mayor.
I agree.
So I would say that our ordinance takes a back seat. I don't want to use the T word. So the ordinance takes a back seat to the state law. Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it.
I look at it the same way.
Yeah, and I would write a letter in Judge Macy.
I'm playing the devil's advocate.
Yes.
To say that would be
I would also write a letter in the format of Judge Macy with just a taste of snark. Just a taste of sarcasm in the letter. Just
I wonder
a taste.
if it pained him to write that letter. I had to have, because he must be like, I have to admit this, and I really don't want to. But anyway.
But I also think that it was sort of like a ha-ha to the city council that, hey, you know, you don't have the power that you think you have in this. Right. You know? Like, you have power. Matter of fact, the city council, the city council actually does have a lot of power, and I think even
for some things.
No, I'm just saying in general, yeah. And some things, yes, right. And they need to exercise that power more frequently. But I think what right now, and I think in the future maybe we'll get better. But right now, it's a situation where this city council is so determined to target the administration.
Yes.
And the administration is targeting back now.
Absolutely.
And you got this little battle going on. Meanwhile, the city is not benefiting from this overall. I think in some cases the city is benefiting from some of the changes that have come over the past few years. I think it could be much better, you know? And I think it's also a reflection of how bad things were before, you know? So we need to move forward on this. I actually had a conversation, Nikki, with somebody about... at first I just gave...
Shut that light off. It's driving me nuts.
Oh, I put the light on because I figured that it was dark in here.
It's like beaming in my eyeballs. Thank you.
How about this one?
No, it's still going to do the same. No, better.
That's better, right? All right. So, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was thinking, you know, how would it look idealistically if we had the option of just not worrying about contracts and this, that, and the other, and what would be the best situation for Fall River when it came to the sanitation situation.
Right.
Because I posted something weeks ago, and then for some reason I think somebody brought it up again, and then they just wanted to have a conversation with me about it. So I did. and I let them know ultimately that I feel the city would be, and you've talked about this multiple times as well. The city would be benefited very well by knowing exactly how much is generated for sanitation between the residential level, the municipal level, and even the commercial level. Even though we don't pick up, we've got some agencies that are grandfathered in, but your newer agencies don't get picked up by
that we're
city.
aware of.
Yeah.
We don't know what contracts the city has.
But we also had recycling getting picked up at housing places and stuff like that. So we need to have a statistical sorting out of what costs what, and then coming up and scaling back on the taxes, actually eliminating the tax on residents, and just designing a fee that covers what the residents are actually spending or costing for recycling and sanitation. That's it. And then I would also have it not city run. I would have it privately done with a third barrel. I actually think that we should be doing food composting. It kind of addresses, I believe that, but it addresses something that we've also mentioned, and you've mentioned way more than anybody that I've seen. What the answer to some of these problems is reducing trash overall.
That's because the thing is, we're always going to have trash. And I've just been asking so many questions myself, okay? There are some forms of plastic that take 450 years to decompose. Normally. Now, if we're removing food wastes, we're removing textiles, which are clothes and things like that, and as anybody knows, things like that can be composted. There are some textiles that can be composted. Like your Drylin, you can throw in a composter and it's fine. So when we're removing those from landfills, what's left over? Well, what's left over is basically plastics that can't, and styrofoams, things that take hundreds of years to decompose already. What are we leaving the environment 450 years from now? So we can say, well, we got to do this, or we can recycle. Okay, but then recycling changes, commodities change, different materials are worth different amounts at different times. So if we were to have a transfer station, how do we then sort the recycling so that it's not contaminated? Because glass can be worth money unless it's broken. But if you're throwing it all in a 95-gallon bin, odds are there's a high percentage of that glass being broken.
Right.
So I think it's a lot of cost that we're not aware of. So how do we get around that? What kind of trash are we generating? If we're generating the majority of styrofoam, can we institute a styrofoam ban? That's right there, right there. They'll look for alternatives, which is usually recyclable paper cups, which I've seen. They work just as good as styrofoam.
Yep.
They're great.
Reusable as well, yeah.
There are things that just disintegrate a lot faster.
Right.
Compostable. Those things, paper cups, are compostable.
Right.
So when you look at that, it's what are we sending to the stream to begin with? They don't think about the end result.
I really truly feel that a composting program would help in reducing the overall trash, and especially if the compost itself is in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not an expert on it, so I can't really sit here and act like I know everything about composting. But I do think that just from a layman's point of view, this is something that can be used in municipal activities, like when it comes to fertilizer, when it comes to certain things.
But if you're talking about doing it citywide, that's different than somebody home composting. So if what you're proposing is every home, property, or individual apartment gets some form of a food composter, I would be down with that in addition to a styrofoam ban, because again, I don't want what's left over to be...
We're looking at, you and I are talking about, and I think we've had we've touched around this topic, but we really do need a massive overhaul as to how we handle...
From scratch.
As to how we handle things, if we're really talking about, not just about affordability in the city. We've talked about the taxation and the fee and the affordability many times, probably 90% of the time. But now we're talking about the environment, and there's a lot of people out there that consider themselves environmentalists when they're talking about the selling of the water, the rail trail conversations. There's the LNG stuff back in the day.
It goes hand in hand. We're constantly hearing Trump's rolling back EPA regulations
Right.
so that it makes things cheaper. More regulation makes things more expensive. Less regulation,
We've kept our eye on the prize here on this show. We've talked multiple times about what's going on in China and the fact that China has
years ago we talked about that.
And China has cut off everything
completely.
Before Trump became the president, the EPA was on a fast track course of shutting down landfills all over the country. Now we're hearing that landfills are being used more frequently now because of the situation in China.
Because there's no option.
They're out of options.
The problem is we didn't care in the United States about our recycling. We again let our trash go somewhere else, right? So just like we do in Fall River, where we used to be the ones to let us, bring your trash here. China, Vietnam, a lot of Asian countries use that recycling. Think of how many cheap plastic products we get from China. Well, a lot of those products are made with the recycled plastics that they've gotten in the United States. The problem is, since the single stream recycling began, and then the addition of pay-as-you-throw programs such as purple trash bags or any kind of pay in exchange of throwing away your trash, has increased recycling, but it's increased dirty recycling. Where I've been talking about that, contaminated recycling is such a big problem.
Right.
Well, the bigger the bins, the more contamination you got in. Right. Now you're adding, people got to pay on top of that. Now they're throwing away more recycling.
Now this overhaul of how we handle sanitation is, again, it's not just about affordability. Now I think affordability always has to be part of conversation, but also now it's about our environment, and we do need to keep track of the styrofoam and the food and the paper and plastic and all that crap. But also, what about our yard waste? It seems like the city engages in yard waste when it feels like it, and not so much. And it's throwing me all off.
I'm confused.
We can compost, right?
I am super confused.
We can compost yard waste too. And again, and I don't mean that we need to use it commercially through the city, but people might be able to collect compost themselves and
use it. But then you have to wonder, why is the city using it collectively? Are they making money off it and we're not getting any of it? Because here's the thing, during one of the meetings in July that I watched, Kathy Ann Viveris quickly mentioned something about our yard waste going to Airport Road as fill. Now, part of our deal, Allied Republic, part of our deal when the contamination thing happened and they picked up the tab, it was like, I'm not exactly sure of all of the ins and outs of that particular agreement we had. But they get our yard waste, which is what I've learned. And Kathy Ann Viveris, I want to say, you can't quote me on it, I want to say she said to the tune of $1 million. If it wasn't $1 million, it was just under $1 million, because it was enough that it caught my attention. And I was like, because where is our yard waste going? It's been such a crazy thing to me that we've been playing yard waste games.
You've talked about Allied should probably very likely be the agency that we work through.
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Right.
That's just where our trash has always gone. So I think it would be good business. They hire their employees, Fall River and Greater Fall River residents. I just think it's a good idea for us to talk with them first.
That discussion I had on social media also branched into, because I think that the person wanted to not just engage in a actual real conversation about the sanitation. I think they wanted to engage me as to how I think and how I process information and things like that. It became more about me instead of the topic. But I wanted to mention, and in that situation, I was asked has other cities tried to do XYZ? If we're going to do something, maybe we should look at other cities and what they do. And I'm actually, when it comes to certain topics, I think it's valuable to research what other communities are doing. In some ways, depending on population, depending on if they're in the same situation we are, like New Bedford, maybe Quincy, a couple of places. But I do not want my decision-making process to be solely dependent on what other people do. And Fall River, when it comes to sanitation, is extremely unique. It's not like anything else around us. We keep on treating it like it is. We keep on acting like it is. Why can't we do the purple bags? Everybody else is doing them, right? And I said, if we keep on doing that kind of method, then we're going to keep on
gotten us in
saying, and we're going to end up keep on saying, how come it's not working for us? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I raised my hand because the thing is, when you're doing your bills at home for yourself, do you think, oh, I can't pay $40 on my electric bill because my neighbor only paid $20?
I think that, and using your context, I think that I can say, if I am struggling with this problem of saving money, I can knock on my neighbor's door and ask how they do it, but I still have to take this information and
Have you
use
ever
it.
knocked on your neighbor's door and asked how they were doing their bills?
Well, I'm just saying, if I was struggling with something, I might not knock on my neighbor's door, but I might ask somebody else for help. But listen, if I do ask for that help, I'm not going to use the same exact method that they use.
Right.
I'm going to take the information and then use it to what works for me.
Now, I can understand using it as a base. You always need a base. Same thing with a recipe. If you want to come up with your own recipe, you still look for a base. Change it as you go.
Change as you go.
I like that. Oh my God, Tra. That's great. Oh, that's great. But anyway, you just really caught me off guard because that was a good one. But that's a big reason why I always talk about what kind of trash are we generating to begin with. I don't care what anybody else is doing. The reality is we had a landfill in Fall River where other people were sending their trash. So why are we looking to other places? They're giving us their trash, guys. So why the hell are we paying attention to them? Just about every community in Massachusetts, if not the country, wants to send their trash outside of their state.
It's pretty much
Which is why our recycling goes to China, folks.
China.
Well,
it did. It doesn't anymore.
But this is why we have a problem when we rely on outside entities. When those outside entities say we can't do it anymore, or they put the price up, or it affects us.
You know what's amazing about what you're talking about is that millions of dollars has been made on simply taking trash.
You have no
sending it
idea
out.
how insane it is. I swear to you, when people say, why do we keep talking about trash, what do I always say? Because
Money.
It's a commodity. Trash is such a huge commodity, and here's the thing, we're the ones who generate it. So we're literally generating trash, they're taking our tax dollars to pay to get rid of that trash, and then on top of it, they want to charge us for trash. We gotta buy trash bags, right? When they buy new trash trucks, new trash bins, when they start new programs, it's coming out of your damn pocket. But they can't even tell us how much trash residents generate. What the hell is up with that?
Hilarious. And please, I know you're probably, oh my God, all you do is talk about trash. Think real hard. If you have been paying attention over the past 4 or 5 years as to what's been going on in the city government, no matter the topic, it could be fire department, it could be police, it could be definitely school department.
Yes.
when you're talking, no matter what you're talking about in
high school.
this city, talk about the littering problem in this city. No matter what you're talking about in this city, it always circles back to the sanitation of and how we handle our sanitation and the cost of our sanitation.
And they cannot tell us where those costs come from.
It is absolutely dynamite. I mean, I'm not talking about dynamite like dynamite, like Good Times dynamite. I'm talking about like a bomb level dynamite in this city whenever you peel the layers of what's going on there. Every time you peel a layer, something new pops up. You remember Mike Mioza's face when the judge told him that by voting for the budget, you essentially voted for the purple bags? Did you see his face?
Yes.
I think he wanted to flip the entire table.
A lot of the times, some of our counselors do have good questions. Brad Kilby, I might not agree with everything he said.
I think that's a fair question.
But I'm glad Brad Kilby's at least he's asking the damn questions.
That was a good question.
He just got back on the council and he at least asked.
The motive behind the question.
I get that.
But I think it was. But it was a solid question that a city council should ask,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with asking that question.
So it's just to see. It's frustrating to constantly say, guys, we're the ones who generate the trash. If you seriously want to spend less, then you must admit that you want to know how much it costs just for residential. That's all I'm asking.
Right.
If we can do that, that's until then. So all these little ideas, transfer station, purple bags, waste zero, all these ideas don't mean anything if we don't know how much and where our trash is coming from. We don't know. Because you know what? If we could say 80% of our trash was styrofoam, then we can institute a styrofoam ban, right? If we said this percentage of our trash was food waste, then we could maybe invest in a local food waste program. I don't want to invest in anything that's going to be outside of Fall River, Greater Fall River. If we're going to talk about being serious about our trash, I want to do it in Fall River first. Why can't we be the example? Wouldn't it be awesome to say we're a city nonetheless, a gateway city, an undereducated city,
a city that a lot of places make fun of around
high drug usage, you know, our rent's high, it's poverty and all this stuff. Wouldn't it be fabulous if everybody could say, look at what they were able to do with their trash problems? They went from recalling a mayor over their trash bags
and hiring a kid to take his place,
figuring out how to solve their own trash problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll show you the conversation I had, because I said very similar things about, you know, if we're overly concerned about what other places are doing, and we fail to become a trendsetter. And I think we need to become a trendsetter, because this is not just a city problem. This is a statewide, nationwide problem. And if we can start to come up with some solutions without worrying about what other people are doing, we might be the city that other places come to and say, hey, what did you do to take care of this problem?
You know, with pay-as-you-throw, and you really start looking into the rate, and it's not just pay-as-you-throw, there are other bag metering programs, because everybody puts pay-as-you-throw in purple bags. There's plenty of trash metering programs, right, that are out there. When you start breaking everything down, it's incredible how much money everybody spends, right? It's mind-boggling. We put so much money into things that 20 years ago, like, for instance, Somerset just got the 95-gallon bins, right? Mm-hmm. And they are the recycling bins. They are like over the moon. Residents in Somerset are so excited, and all I could think of is, you have no idea within the next few years your recycling rates, your costs are going to skyrocket, and then they're going to be saying, why? Why? You know, we instituted pay-as-you-throw a few years ago. There were some communities in Massachusetts that did 20 years ago that are paying out of their rear ends still today, 20 years of a bag metering program, a trash metering program, and they still can't afford their trash.
Politically, it's still advantageous to say we need to recycle. There's got to be, now it's a slogan. Now
there's always a company willing to make money off of your trash.
We now have a recycling crisis in the country. So when it was good to see these recycling numbers going up from 2009 to 2013-14, when these recycling numbers in Fall River started to increase, people jumped on top of that. They were like, wow, this is great. Yeah. We're reducing our garbage. We're increasing our recycling. This is what we want to see. The purple bags are working. Like,
yeah, it didn't tell you the whole story.
They didn't tell you the entire story as to how this is damaging not only the environment but our finances, because recycling costs went through the roof, and now they're going to be astronomical. Even if we did get a transfer station in Fall River, people have to know that that is not the end-all be-all of the situation. That's a very tiny morsel of the beginning. That's a seed in the ground. That does not necessarily mean it's going to flourish into a great tree.
A transfer station is only going to make money off of the commodities it collects. When we do single-stream recycling, we're not collecting good quality recyclable
You want to
material.
mention Plymouth right now, or? Because I know you showed me that Plymouth
there are so many things that I've been looking at, so I don't even know.
Plymouth has now shut down their contract with ABC.
Oh, they actually completely, because what happened was ABC wasn't picking up their recycling. Because here's the thing, like, what people don't realize is we send our recycling outside of Fall River. It goes somewhere eventually. It doesn't just disappear and vanish into thin air. Those places are no longer accepting the paper. So China stopped collecting recycling. There is nowhere to put the recycling. And so transfer stations within the state have been stockpiling. So they literally have tons of paper, tons of plastic, and they can't collect anymore by law. There's no room for it, nowhere to put it. So what do? They have to turn around and stop collecting it from the towns that they're collecting it from. Plymouth, New Bedford, they're actually right now suing the company that they contracted with and are no longer Plymouth is canceled their contract with them and completely stopped servicing their residents.
I'm pretty sure recycling pickup was in their contracts before the state decided to say you can't pick up anymore.
But it's not about the state. There's no room for it. There's nowhere for it to go.
No, I agree. I'm just saying. But
so ultimately,
when these contracts were signed by these municipalities, they all by design could break their contracts.
Which is exactly why I do not want a transfer station in the city of Fall River. Because if we contract with other municipalities, we're that company that has to collect that recycling from other municipalities because it's in our contract. And then here we are in Fall River with a transfer station that's loaded with whatever recyclables, trash, smells, rats, cockroaches, whatever else comes along with transfer stations. You can do your own research. There's a ton of it out there. So that's the thing. It's not just
But you have groups of people out there, and powerful groups of people in the city that are ready and willing to be duped into this whole big, huge transfer station situation. And again, a transfer station can work if it's worked correctly. It's the bad time right now for that. Yeah.
Okay, because here's where I say we need Allied Republic. They are a transfer station.
You've been saying that for quite some time.
They already are. Yeah. So, and before that, they were a landfill. So if we've got any professionals in the city, boom, there they are. Yeah. You drive by Port Road, does it smell great? Anybody?
No.
Smell fantastic? So do we want a second one?
Oh, you can drive by Lewiston Street and it's still pretty bad over there.
So my thing is, whatever the intention is to do with a transfer station there, I think we need to really do our homework before that's even a conversation. And I think the biggest thing is residents need to take care of their trash at home first. We need to figure it out at home first, guys.
It's
and then we'll save, because if everybody's saving at home and they figure out where our costs are coming from, because I do think that's where a lot of shady stuff is coming in. It's not residential.
There's no quick fix to this. We do have to work together on this, and we actually we don't do the greatest job in Fall River of carrying and following through with our delegation on these topics. Your state's got to get involved in this. Your congressman's got to get involved with this. The solutions aren't going to come just from one entity. It's got to be an inclusive discussion. So,
but if it happens, if all the residents get together and say, this is what we want to do, we want to figure it out, right? And then we can get our politicians to back up our residents, right? Our local politicians in the city. Now we've got outsiders looking at the city saying you can work together. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, it would be nice to see that. It would.
Wouldn't it be great if trash brought us together? You just gave me a look like...
The views and opinions of this show is not always reflected by both of us.
They always talk about Fall River being the trash heap of the state. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could use it to our advantage? I think we could.
As far as Jazel going on vacation. So, we kind of veered way off that one for a little bit. But, Jazel going on vacation... Section 26 of the state law, and I'm not going to read the entire thing out, but it does say here, after you read through some of the language, if the mayor is absent or unable from any cause temporarily to perform his duties, they just assume the mayor is a him, huh? Anyway. His duties, they shall be performed by the president of the city council. That's the state law. I like the fact that when we looked up the charter pretty much reflected exactly what the state law is. Yeah. One of the strengths of the charter, and again, I didn't vote for the charter for other reasons, but one of the strengths of the charter is that it really made an attempt to make sure that it was aligned with state law rather than kind of willy-nilly doing its own thing. And I think in this situation, it's pretty clear. But what's not clear is the mayor compelled to tell the city council that he's going on vacation? And that, I think, is like more of a common sense thing.
Yeah.
You should not need state law or an ordinance or a charter.
Somebody in charge.
Or a charter to guide you on this very common sense, common courtesy thing. Now, I laugh into my heart when I say common courtesy because we recall the horrible decorum that is going back and forth in council meetings between the administration and the mayor and the city council. So the city council, I've seen some very nasty things. How could you forget how Rich Cabaceres used to speak to Mary Sahadi? Like every time, it was insane. Anyway, to see the mayor though not show that courtesy is different for me.
It's upsetting to me as well.
Right, and that's because if one group of people aren't showing decorum, it's still not a ticket for you to retaliate back. You still have to be a professional. You know, I know that on social media I can get like heated in a discussion, even in person I can get heated on topics, but if I have a job to do, you got to push that heatedness to the side, and you have to do your job, and you have to be a professional. And I would say that Jazel has been professional in our eyes. I'm not there every day. I'm not in the building. I'm not at City Hall every day. I'm pretty sure we can get more than one person coming in here from City Hall and say he's not been professional at times, or even many a times. But I know that he's portrayed himself as a professional pretty well to the public eye overall, in comparison. And this did not look professional at all. And that's going to be a big ding on him in the future. I really do think that something like this, it's the little things that really add up, and he's gonna have a hard time, I think, with some of this stuff.
To me, it's more of a slap in the face to us residents than it is to the city council, because I personally feel like you don't care enough about making sure the city is
run properly.
I mean, when I leave my house, I make sure to tell my kids who's in charge. Like when I was manager at Dunkin' Donuts, there was always somebody in charge every shift. That's just the way it works. There's always got to be somebody in charge. God forbid he was out of his office, out of town, out of the country, and an emergency arose. If people don't know that he's out of the country and then they're looking for him, that promotes a problem.
Especially when he's out of the country. If he's going to Newport for dinner or something like that, like that's one thing. But if you're running out of the country, that's a huge situation. I mean, I don't know if you know this. I work at the Veterans Center on Pine Street in Fall River, and I have to tell my assistant director where I'm going, and I have to go to different places all the time. I'm gonna go. I went to Green Elementary School. I got to go to a church next week. I got to go to certain things. I got to put it on the schedule. I got to let everyone know where I'm going. So that way I'm not getting 50 text messages like, oh my God, where are you? Where are you? You can't do that. You definitely can't do that.
I was upset to see that. I was like, that's just, and that bothers me because those are the petty little games that go back and forth.
Now, if I want to be petty,
he's at least got to care enough.
Now, if I want to be petty and tell my assistant director, like, look, there's nothing written that says that I need to tell you anything, so I'm just gonna that's ignorant to me. Like it's not that's not gonna make things better. If the city, and we've agreed, right, that the city council has been.
It doesn't matter though.
Well, no. I want to say something. We've agreed that the city council has been kind of ridiculous, right?
Of course.
So even if that's a fact, it's our opinion, but even if it's a fact that they've been ridiculous, it is not a ticket for the mayor to do the same thing.
No, it doesn't mean it's not tit for tat.
The mayor is not justified in retaliation and being rude or being unprofessional.
It's just babyish. I don't like it. I just don't like it. When you go on vacation, when you step out, you put somebody in their place. And here's the thing, right? If he didn't notify city council, who did he notify? Because if he's just leaving and not leaving anybody in charge, that's even worse. Like, you just dodging out and that's just the end of it. I don't like that.
The mayor can't do that. And that's now. I don't like it. Now, this is the first time that I've ever really brought it up, but do you think that's a sign of youth?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that's a sign of I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do.
But wouldn't you say a younger person would have that attitude?
No, because I've seen older people do that.
Well, maybe so.
I watched Bob Carrera instituted a rainwater tax, even though nobody wanted a rainwater tax. I've seen people do crazy illegal things.
We're gonna pivot out of this one and go right into that rainwater tax, because you were in the middle of talking to me about it before we started the show. So what's your position on this?
Well, it's bugging me.
What's up with
It's been bugging me, but it's bugging me just like the trash bag thing is. It's bugging me. Like, all over the country, there are some municipalities that give incentives for people who collect rainwater. Then there are other municipalities who charge for stormwater runoff, right? So I was like, okay, what is this stormwater runoff, right? And it's supposed to be whatever it hits your house because it can't soak into the ground and all this stuff. So here's a question I pose to all of our Fall River politicians. If a property owner decides to harvest their rainwater, shouldn't the rainwater tax be taken away from that? If they're going to charge each property a rainwater runoff tax, right? Let them collect their rainwater. Now they're using it, so it's not going into the storm, into the stormwater, whatever the hell.
It's not running off.
It's not overflow. Right.
It's not adding to the reason why it exists.
Supposedly, that's the reason it exists. So, how do we get rid of that? Is if people then harvest their rainwater, shouldn't they? So this is what I've been looking into. This is the new thing. I'm learning about stormwater fees and runoff and how that works.
Sidebar: have you seen this raw water thing on TV and the
Yeah,
internet?
it's stupid.
It's kind of funny though.
It is.
Because I think this falls into your realm right now.
Yeah, like
you might be able to get raw water.
But for me, I think there's other things that it could be used for. I don't think to me, I think of gardens and things like that. So.
Of course.
You know.
Oh, it's raining outside now. You got your collection buckets out there, no?
No.
Ah. Causing the taxpayer more money as we speak.
Actually, I have quite the garden in buckets, so I am actually using the water before it drains out of my garden.
Election season's coming up soon. It's right around the corner. You're going to start seeing signs, billboards, all kinds of stuff going on. And this is the time where the elderly get their yearly visits to the high-rises. You know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be going to the high-rises too, Nikki. It's going to happen. I don't know. Am I going to make a vegan soup? I've been eating vegan, everyone, if anyone's listening.
No.
Am I going to make a vegan?
I'm not sure there's you got to think generations before, they might not know what vegan is.
I can make a vegetable soup.
That would be a better idea.
I can make
Minestrone?
of zucchini and tomato type of thing. It'd be nice. Italiano.
I don't know about the zucchini.
Why?
I don't know. If I was old, I'm trying to think. What kind of soup would I want if there was a politician coming to my high-rise?
Zucchini's delicious.
I mean, I really don't care about the politician. It's about the food. So
it is about the food. I mean, I don't even have to talk.
No, of course not.
I do like to talk though. I have my own podcast actually.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Funny story. The grandkids are at the house. So when I was leaving, to come over, I'm like, okay, guys, I gotta go do the radio show. And then the kids are like, you do the radio? Because they're getting older now, so now they can ask questions. You do a radio show? And I'm like, yes, on YouTube. I said YouTube, their faces.
They jumped all over.
Was like, oh my God, Nin's on YouTube.
YouTube is the greatest website of all time. Fact.
Really, YouTube is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's an opinion, but I feel like
YouTube is great. Yes. It gives us a wonderful platform. I love YouTube.
Yes. It is hands down the greatest website I've ever been on in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Besides fallriverma.org, naturally, right?
Yeah.
Right. Make it here. One of the problems that I continually keep on arriving to is when I go to the high rises, I actually do want to help these people. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to just get their vote. I do want their vote. I'm not going to act like I don't want their vote. Why am I there? To get a vote. But there's a real big problem at these high rises. Especially...
Yeah, nobody cares.
Right. Especially over time as a younger influx of people have been allowed to be in these high rises. And it's no longer just retirees and people with like severe disabilities or anything like that.
Another 20-year problem that's finally coming and slapping everybody in the face.
Absolutely right. and there's a lot of drug activity going on around these buildings.
Yep.
There's a lot of bullying. There's a lot of robbing people. People in wheelchairs are getting their jewelry
Yep.
taken from them,
Yep.
and they're afraid to say anything. And there's one or two guards at one or two of these places. It's a complete wasteland of violence and terror. Like, I don't mean it on a grand scale
Right.
terrorism, but people are being terrorized in these things. So I've
That
had.
comes to our state delegation because they need to do something about that.
So now that my feet is a little more wet in the process, because you got to remember, I'm still relatively new to all this stuff. What you looking at me?
I
like
don't know
that
how I felt about wet feet.
for? Oh, but I'm just saying, I'm just getting my rhythm here in this whole platform. I'm still new to it. I've not been a city councilor yet. A lot of people talk to me and ask me questions like I'm a city councilor. I don't know all these things yet because I'm not involved in it every day, you know? So, I am getting, like I said, I am getting my rhythm on some of these things. I definitely am starting to learn how the municipal budgets are working and how state budgets work. I have experience in this now, not just reading about it, but I have actual real application.
Ain't it?
Right. Well, I have application into this now, and I'm starting to think that the city, if they really wanted to help these elderly individuals that are really, in my opinion, being victimized on a daily basis, maybe we can get some earmarks for specific security measures in these buildings. I'm not just talking about a camera in a hallway.
Oh, I think it even needs to go further than that. I think they need to get elderly high-rises back.
So you mean segregate?
I
just for
absolutely do, and
Okay.
I'm not trying to talk, down about disabled people, but I think the definition of disabled has expanded so much that I think when trying to be inclusive, I don't think they take a lot of the things into consideration.
Well, like my thought is security. I really do think that we need more security in those areas, regardless of who is the resident in these
Right.
buildings. Because let's say we do swap them out, there's still an opportunity to be victimized in those areas.
Well, not even that, but medical emergencies. I
Yes.
think just for people coming in and out of the building.
Absolutely.
If somebody fell, an elevator got stuck,
Right.
I don't run for office, but I do talk to people. So
We
we
need
talk
to-
to people who live in high rises. There's a lot of issues in the city.
We need, I had she wasn't my blood family, but I called her aunt. You know how that is.
Yeah.
I called her auntie my whole life, and she ended up passing away a couple years ago. She was actually in a newspaper. Her last name was Yarbo, and that was, I just saw her like a couple of months ago before she passed away, and it was sad. And one of her questions was a very safety concern. Was what if there's an electricity outage? There's people on machines. There's people on breathing machines. There's people that need this backup generator or something to make sure that they're not dead if for whatever reason there's a blackout for like more than an hour. And she's not wrong. And Alan Sylvia got the photo up. I'm not sure if Alan Sylvia actually did anything to make sure that these generators were provided to these buildings. And it's not like it's not a shot. It's real questions. It's real asking of real questions. We need to make sure that these people are going to be taken care of and safe, not for votes, not just for an election, but for the betterment of the city. A culture is, in my opinion, is really defined by how it takes care of its elderly. I went
The elderly and the children.
Right. I've been overseas. I've been to different cultures. I've seen different cultures. Spanish cultures and Asian cultures specifically really go out of their way to take care of their elderly. I think that family by family, we'd have to take it by a family by family basis. But there's sometimes when you look at how a municipality takes care of its elderly, how a municipality or even an overall government takes care of its kids and its elderly, it does not look good on us sometimes when we do these things, when we just stuff them somewhere and forget about them. And right now, I have to say that they're stuffed somewhere. If there wasn't any such thing as an election, I don't think any of these people would be going to those buildings at all.
Never.
And that's a problem for me. Like, that's a big problem for me. So I got exposed to it a couple of times in these elections, but now that I'm where I am in the city, now that I'm where I am, it doesn't matter if I win an election or not. I personally plan on making these efforts to put this time into it.
It goes deeper than just security too. Like the thing is,
you're right on that. I got focused on security, but you're right on that.
But that's a good portion of it, because when you're in a high rise, think about how that would help the police department, how that would help the fire department, how that could help doctors and nurses who service some of these elderly people. The lunch, the Meals on Wheels, there are certain programs that intercede, that are constantly passing each other by.
Right.
So there should be, whether it's security or just somebody at the desk, there needs to be somebody. When you're in a building with that many apartments, there needs to be somebody there for certain hours through the day, and I find that they cut and they cut and they cut, and that's where they make the cuts, is at the building. But on the city's end of it, we need to have more events at these places and not just around election time.
Well, I gotta give Angels Anonymous a lot of credit.
I love what Angels has been doing lately. Like
I give Angels Anonymous a lot of credit. So those people who listen to us on a regular basis probably know who Angels Anonymous is. For anyone that's out there that doesn't know who they are, Angels Anonymous is a group I used to be a part of, and I actually was, and there's still about 8 to 10 people in that group. They got volunteers. They do a lot of good volunteer work. I'm hyper focused on cleanups around the city, so I gotta take that responsibility. But when they do the food pantry, that is an amazing thing. They'll go to a project, they'll go to a park, they'll go to a high rise, they'll go to these different places and just provide food. They get funding, food donations from the Greater Boston Food Bank, which is an enormous conglomerate of food banks. And it's just, to me, that is what charity should be. Show up, give, get out of there. And that's what they do. And I like that. And I think that's opening the door for other people like Gates of Hope, some of these other places out there that United Way does some really good stuff for elderly people. We need to get more involved in it. And it's not even about recognition, man. It's about being able to look in the mirror and saying, I actually did something productive in my life and actually took care of somebody. And I think it really it builds our culture back, because you go on the news now and you go on even just regular TV shows, people are going all out at each other. They are going all out at each other. And it's starting to permeate into the streets.
Because
it's permeating into the neighborhoods.
People don't know who their neighbors are, though. Yeah. I'm glad I grew up in a project, because my mother wasn't the only one who could put me in my place. Like, all the other moms, all the other people who lived in the project had the authority from my mother that if they saw me doing something wrong, they were to say something to me. So when I say, like, doing more for the elderly, we have such talented people in the city. We have artists, we have musicians, we have dancers. There are so many wonderful comedians, DJs, there's so many people. Man, just as residents, say, hey, I'm gonna go to this high rise and just play for an hour. You know how many people are gonna come downstairs and sit and listen to music and just talk?
Absolutely.
They need to get to know each other, and I think that goes a mile.
Edward Costa, when he was running,
he did the piano
thing when he was running, and it's like, and I never learned how to play piano, but that was always something that I always thought would be cool, to go to some of these houses. And I wasn't thinking of high rises. I was thinking more of like the nursing homes.
Yep.
And just playing the piano and just giving them some time.
Either way, pick a nursing home. Do it at the hospital. Do it wherever. Yeah. Go. You go to a park. If you play music, go to the damn park and just stop playing. You'd be amazed at how many people are going to stop and watch you. Yeah. Fall River is so talented. I don't like our slogan, make it here or made it, whatever the hell it is. I don't even know what it is.
I'm not a big fan of that either.
But I know that we do have a lot of talented people.
Yeah.
So I think that if we got to talking and We did that with our elderly. I think our elderly have lost, since they've been mixing a
Animal
lot of the housing
Instincts.
units.
I believe Animal Instinct still does this, but I know they did it when I was working at residential facilities for younger kids. They would bring iguanas, they'd bring, monkeys by, they would just do like an animal show,
Yeah.
basically. Not like a performance, but just like a petting type thing.
I just stop and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
I go into high rises. I'm not running for anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to talk to people, and I ask them what's wrong.
Right.
You find, what's your biggest complaint
Yeah.
about, and they all say the same things. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
And then you see all this money that's going to housing and all this that's going here, and it's like, what the hell are you doing with it?
One of my problems with this now, when you're talking about the politics of it, Nikki, is everyone who runs goes there.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that have been elected multiple times, that they know these problems exist.
Absolutely.
That they...
And I think that's why a lot of them lost a lot of votes they may have once had so freely.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough for me, because I'm watching some of the older guys that still can just put their name on a ballot and win. Steve Kamara is one of them. They still have this connection to these...
Just a name.
But they still...
Steve Kamara talks all the time, because then everybody talks about Steve Kamara talking all the time.
But what I guess my point on this is that he still is, one way or another, whether it's through name recognition or not, they still have a connection to this person who, in my opinion, I don't think has done anything to help these situations at all. He could probably call into the show, talk about all the stuff he's done, but then let's see what happens in 2019 when I go to these buildings and they still give me the same problems that they've had this whole time. Never do I anticipate I'm going to go to these buildings and these people are going to say to me, you know what? Things have changed. Do you want to know why? Our city council has been doing XYZ. It's not going to happen.
I will say that there has been noticeable change recently.
From the city council piece?
Not city council. I would just say in general, they're not giving anybody in particular credit for it, but there are little changes that are being made.
Good. I want to see that.
Teeny.
No, progress is progress. I'll take it.
I think a big way to go about it is we need to, instead of saying it's discrimination and we have to mix elderly and disabled, I think it's perfectly okay that we have 65 and over places. I don't think anybody would be opposed to having certain, when I was a kid, there were elderly high-rises. That's what we called them, elderly high-rises. It's not like that anymore.
Right.
They're mixed housing.
Yep.
And I understand the theory behind the mixed housing, but when you look at a certain demographic as our elderly citizens, our aging citizens, is it a good idea to mix them in with disabled people or other younger groups? Not necessarily. I would then have to go to statistics and data.
We got ourselves a chat on our chat.
Is anyone chatting?
Yeah, he's talking about me and the election. I won't read it out loud, but
somebody's chatting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who this is too.
Got my glasses on.
It says his name is Jared on TV. I'm pretty sure I know who that is. JC, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. I mean,
and the South End, don't ever underestimate the South End. I tell people, South End is power. People just don't realize it.
Hey, Jared on TV, thank you for listening. I think that Nikki is obviously super duper passionate about the sanitation conversation, and I know we kind of dominated most of it with that, but this part of the conversation, honestly, is something that means something to me. Nikki, how many photos do I have in my apartment?
Not many.
How many?
One.
I mean, I wouldn't count Yoda over there, but one actual real photo.
Yoda, one photograph. Yes.
And it's me and my grandmother.
Yeah.
Right? My grandmother was 60.
You've had up from
the day you've been here, right? So my grandmother passed at 66 years old. She didn't even really have a chance to become an elderly person. Right. We didn't have a chance to take care of her the way that I would like to have taken care of her. So, again, this is a progressive thing that happened. It didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, we need to help the elderly out. It's something that over your experience you start to see and feel. It's just like when you and I were talking about me being a vegan. I had to kind of go through a few phases of other things before I got to this point where I know where I am now, and you can feel it. It's a part of you, and this is a major part of why I want to be involved in the city politics, so that there's a real voice for people who feel like they're victims in this thing. I always felt like the people who are going to the store, literally like budgeting their food and utilities to buy a freaking set of cheap purple bags, overpriced purple bags, to give to a government that's never been responsible for how it spends and how it wastes money and how it uses people and how it does all this stuff.
Because not every elderly person lives in a high-rise.
No. But, and I'm not even talking about elderly people that have to do this purple bag thing. I'm talking about just victimized individuals. I really do feel like these people have been victimized to the point now where they have this, like, that syndrome where now it's like when they stick up for the government, we need the bags. The bags are good to me. The bags make me recycle more. Like, they start to have that same personality of a victim that's been kidnapped.
Yeah.
Am I off on this? I really do feel like it's the same thing. And I'm like, wow, how could you advocate for a government that's shown zero responsibility with your tax dollars? How can you advocate to give them more? And the reason why they even have the bags in the first place is because of all the irresponsibility that happened before that.
And years they spent the millions of dollars the city was making off of the trash.
This is victimization. Yeah. It's true victimization. So I really want people to understand why I care so much about this stuff, because we're falling down. And you know, I'm a big Rocky 1980s Rocky fan. And what's the biggest quote in Rocky? It's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up. But I'm not seeing people getting up. I'm not seeing it. You put
get knocked down.
Yeah.
Get up,
you this is crazy. You put a post on the wall about like, hey, we're getting together to do something positive for the city. You have 16 people talking about the city sucks.
Yeah.
No, you get a lot of likes. You don't get a lot of participation nowadays.
Yeah. Well, because people are afraid if they say something positive, there's going to be somebody who comes back to something negative. But the thing is, you got to either ignore it or accept it.
It's
like
true.
People are going to say negative things. I don't care. There are things that I'm going to like that you don't like. There are things that I'm going to agree with that you don't. But let's sit together and discuss it. We don't have to kill each other over it.
That's it. That's it. Now, we haven't talked about the big stuff going on in the presidential world of America.
Oh.
We talked a lot about that in previous shows, which I felt like I didn't want our show to be another show that talks about all this stuff. It is connected though, you know, and
trickle down politics.
Yeah, yes, people do take this stuff seriously. If you're on the Trump side or the rest of the world side, you still are. You know, you have friends. I have friends that love Donald Trump, like love Donald Trump. I have friends that completely hate Donald Trump, and I have people that hate each other because they like or hate him. Right? And I'm putting my foot into the political arena again. My photos have changed. I'm changing my photos into something more professional looking. People are reading my bio. I'm on Twitter. I tell people I don't like Donald Trump. They're like, you're going to be a city council. How can you? And I'm like, I'm still me. I'm still who I am. I still have my opinions. So I do feel like this Donald Trump effect is going to affect some people who are running for office, not just in Fall River, but all over. I do think that voters are going to say, are you a Trump guy or not? Do you want Fall River to be a sanctuary city? All these kind of things are going to come up. And I wonder, I know my answers.
Guys, we live in Massachusetts. Just saying. Like,
Fall River, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Like,
it's immigrant city.
We are.
Yeah.
Like,
we're all immigrants in the city. But I will say, even whether you're Irish, Portuguese...
No matter what you are, man. It's just, you live in Massachusetts, you're an immigrant.
Irish, Portuguese, Cape Verdean, African American, Spanish.
And that's what makes
right.
Fall River as beautiful as
Right.
it is. So let somebody try to shut that one down, because that's why we are as beautiful as we are, is because of our diversity.
But I know what my answers are. But I'm looking forward, if it happens, to see some of these mental gymnastics that are going to occur when you're trying to make everybody happy. You're gonna get people upset if you take a position. You are going to piss people off.
That's why you're not supposed to talk about it.
No. You gotta be real, man.
No, you be real with your own opinions. Why does your opinion for the way you feel have to be based on a president?
Just be real.
I miss him to the core. I miss him.
Just be real, right?
She'd cook for me.
Yeah, right. The AJs. No, you gotta be. So I picked up a picture of George Thompson. George Thompson was a guy I think many people who listen to the show know, but I'll just throw it out there anyway. George Thompson was a guy that used to have his phone on him all the time, and he would take videos of everything. And one time he took a video of a police officer doing meter maid stuff, and he got kind of harassed by the cop. The cop, I believe, took his phone and tried to erase it all, and
arrested him.
And George Thompson ended up fighting the police. He ended up winning $70,000.
He fought the law, and he won.
And then within a week he died because he didn't know what the hell to do with that money, I guess. I don't know. I know there's a lot of, stuff involved in that. But bottom line is he ended up passing away. But one of the greatest quotes he ever said was, "Just be real." And to me, this is what this conversation is about. If you're a politician and you're running for anything, you're going to have to show what side you're on this stuff.
But saying it is different than voting it. Because the one thing you can bank on is when these national politicians, I'll say, so state politicians, when they speak nationally, and they're whether they're with or they're against Trump, when it boils down to it, right, go check out their voting record.
Yeah.
It doesn't, because they can say whatever they want to say. Mm-hmm. Go check their voting record. That's what should speak for itself.
My only part of this conversation was I'm looking forward to seeing the mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
Just be real.
Silly.
Just be real, but that also shows your personality, right? If you can't, not every answer is yes or no, right? Like, there are complicated answers, right? Yeah, you have to talk a little bit to get to where you need to be to answer some questions.
Full compromise.
Right. But it's not always just a simple yes or no. Because ask me if I think Fall River should be a sanctuary. We've had this conversation before. Again, ask me. Okay.
Do you think Fall River should be a sanctuary city?
Well, I want to take care of people who have been in asylum or people who are trying to get away from murdering and this, that, and the other. But we need to make sure that we're vetting to make sure that we're not getting, duped by some of these people that are coming to the country.
just answered that with yes.
Yeah.
And then I would have waited for a follow-up.
Yeah. But the follow-up's going to come.
I know, but I would have waited.
But in my heart, I want to genuinely take care of someone who genuinely needs the help. I do. But that's not always the case, right? So that's why it's not always a simple yes or no answer to me. But anyway, you're looking at me. Just looking at me.
No,
all right,
we live in Massachusetts.
There's going to be all kinds of stuff going on.
We're a sanctuary state. It's just the way it is for now.
Now, you're a fence. You're not. Sometimes you say you're a fence rider, but sometimes you make your decision.
I do have the reason I say I'm a habitual fence walker is because I'll listen to anybody's opinion and I will try my damnedest to come to a conclusion. I might not agree with everything you're saying, but I think that if we sat down and talked about it long enough, we could come to an agreement that both of us would be okay with. So, and I think that would work for everything. I think if you're the type of person that's going to ride or die for your opinion, you're never going to get anywhere. You need to be able to come to and find common ground.
How you absorb and then apply the facts is really going to determine a lot of things, right?
And I also have more faith in people. I think when it really boils down to it, when they're given the real facts, they'll make the best decision for them. I can't tell you what the best decision is for your family.
When it comes to this conversation, though, when it comes to this topic, I don't always think that people are formulating their opinions based on a fact. I think they run to their base.
Well, there are always going to be those people, but to me, I wouldn't sit down with those people at all. Because they're not going to, like with Sarah, I'll use Sarah as the perfect example. Sarah Rebello, everybody pretty much knows who she is, mostly. Anyway, Miss Sarah, I won't talk with her about anything political because her opinion is made. There is no point in us having an educational discussion.
Right.
Because her mind is made up.
Yeah.
So to me, there's no, it's not genuine for us to have a dialogue.
And it's not going to be a dialogue. It's going to be an attack mode.
Right, and to me, it's just pointless to me. So, but I can talk to her about her child. Like I could talk to her about schools. I could talk to her about other things, and I love talking to her about other things. Mm-hmm. Politics, not going to happen. But so I could pick and choose who I can.
But when somebody needs to, like, we're researching kind of people, right? Like, we're not going to get into an argument.
I am now.
But we're not going to get into an argument without at least being able to cite some facts to back up what's going on. And the cited facts need to be a generally consensus cited fact, not obscurewebsite.org.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at this fact. You know what I mean? Like, we can't do that anymore. I think there was a stretch.
It's like some 400-pound guy in the basement that's writing some fake news.
So we do that, but I'm having a hard time having discussions with people who will ask that question that you asked me just a little while ago, and they already have their answer.
Yeah.
And they've already gotten their information from places that they want to get their information from. So when you try to reintroduce a level of humanity to this, you're looked at as, quote, social warrior. You're looked at as, like the left-wing crazy person.
See, I don't care. They could call me whatever they want.
And I'm thrown by this because I'm like, so there's no room at all for humanity to thrive in this. I'm looking at Florida right now. There was a gentleman who went to the store, went to a gas, I think it was a gas station, went to a convenience store. His girlfriend was in the car with kids. The gentleman going to the store was black, the woman was black, the kids were black. Another man goes up to the car, white, yelling at the woman in the car, yelling at the woman, maybe the kids, not sure. But he is just yelling at them. The other man comes back out from the store, goes up to the guy. What are you doing yelling at my girlfriend and kids? Pushes him. Mm-hmm. Guy falls on the ground, pulls out his gun. The guy who pushed him to the ground has his hands up and backs away. Guy in the ground shoots him.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
The guy in the ground shoots him. He goes home.
That's just the stand your ground law.
He did not go to jail. He did not even get processed. He was allowed to go home.
Yeah.
Shame. The stand your ground law, and I've known this because I've been arguing with people still to this day about the Trayvon Martin stuff. Someone said to me, someone you know very well and we know very well, said to me, it doesn't even matter if Zimmerman targeted Trayvon Martin for racist reasons, chased him down.
It's not okay for Trayvon to stand his ground, but it's okay for George Zimmerman to stand his ground.
Right. That's what's mind-boggling. Even if he chased him down and all this and that, the minute that Trayvon was threatening his life by beating him to death, he had a right to use the gun.
It's a kill or be killed mentality. That's what's happening in Florida right now.
So I challenge this situation at the gas station or the convenience store. I really don't know which one it was, but I challenge this situation where this man had his hands up and backed away and was shot and killed. He walked into the store with a bullet in his chest and he fell on one knee and he died in the store in front of his kids, in front of his girlfriend. And the guy goes home because of standing your ground. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So this person can now instigate, for whatever reason, I'm going to assume it was racist reasons, but I'm going to, we don't have to make any assumptions, antagonizes the person, gets a natural consequence for that antagonizing by getting pushed. He could have called the cops right there and said, hey, this guy put his hands on me. Okay, if you want to go that route, you can. You're within your grounds to do that. But to pull out a gun and shoot the guy when he was no longer a threat.
And that's what makes it racist. Until that moment when he was pushed and fell to the ground. Because here's the thing. He didn't feel threatened when he went over to the cop and was yelling at the woman.
No.
He didn't feel threatened.
No.
But if she would have pulled out a gun and shot him, she could have used the stand your ground law because he was threatening. She was in her car. He went over to her car and threatened her.
There's a difference in that, though, Nick, because in both cases, even in Trayvon and even in this case, the guy who was doing the antagonizing was physically hit or touched.
Right.
The woman in the car, if the guy comes to the car yelling, he didn't physically touch them yet.
Yeah, but the physical part is not a part of the stand your ground law.
Okay.
The stand your ground law is whether you feel like in danger.
Yeah. But who's to stop somebody to just walk down the street and say that guy's...
But my thing is, I just want to finish this thought though.
Yeah.
Because the second he was pushed to the ground, would he have feared him or pulled out a gun if it was a white guy who pushed him to the ground? And I say that because here we go back to, because then when you look and read at newspaper articles from the early 1800s, right? They don't speak about black people in a positive manner. Black people have always been looked upon as murderers, rapists, abusers, beaters, not good people, okay? This is where the problem lies, because then when he was shoved to the ground and in his head, is he thinking, oh my God, because of the color of this guy's skin, I'm gonna die? If so, that's a freaking problem. That's the issue.
Well, I flipped the script. What if the black guy went up to a family of white people and yelled at the car, and the white guy came
absolutely
and did the whole thing
and shot him?
No. And if the black guy pulled out his gun after getting pushed to the ground and shot the white guy, would that person have even been arrested or detained? Would the black person have been detained? So I'm throwing the question out there again. If the black guy went up to the white family,
the one on the ground, he would have been detained.
He definitely would have been detained.
In my opinion.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, he absolutely would have been detained.
This white person,
pending an investigation.
This white person who shot a black person did not get detained. He didn't even get his gun taken away. He went home. And that was it.
George Zimmerman.
That's
all I have to say.
Right.
Yeah, but you know something? That was the prime example.
Right.
Because you teach, as a parent, I teach my kids. If somebody's following you, somebody's doing something, stick up for yourself. That boy was being followed.
Right. Well, he was being harassed from the minute because he was...
And he stuck up for himself. And when he stuck up for himself, and that's what I don't like. So I could go start any baloney with anybody I want just so I can pull out a gun. No dice. So the point of this whole conversation is really about... fair. It's about being fair. It's about having, being real about what is going on. If you're a Republican and you see this situation, be real about what just happened. Are you kidding? Right. They're applauding a president who is yelling at a football player for taking a knee, not speaking a word, for taking a knee, and at the same time applauding the same guy pissed off at a football player for taking a knee is insulting our Marines, our veterans. He's insulting people every single day who fight for our country. And there are people who applaud him. Don't applaud him. Don't applaud a man who insults the United States. So if you're gonna, I need people to start seeing things objectively. Democrats are supposed to be objective when Republicans tell them that the economy is doing great. They're supposed to not ignore the fact that the GDP is 4.1, unemployment for African Americans, Spanish people, and all the way around are low, lowest it's ever been, and all this and that. But so if the onus of being objective goes from Republican to Democrat, then you got to look at, and I'm not even talking about from Democrat to Republican, I'm talking about life, I'm talking about realness, I'm talking about put your politics to the side for a minute and watch a man on the ground and a man walking away with his hands up, no longer being a threat, to somebody, being shot in the chest and being killed in front of his family. All right?
Can you do that? Are you able to do that?
Philando Castile.
That was the worst.
And not a peep.
That was the worst.
Nobody sticks up for the guy.
That was the worst. That was the
what
worst.
The hell is wrong?
And you know, and as much as the mainstream media gets a lot of trouble because they all rise up when they see something negative about Donald Trump. I'm mad at the mainstream media for not putting a lot of these situations on the forefront too.
Boston bomber was able to run through Boston.
LeBron James
go through and didn't get shot. Philando Castile in a car, pulling out, told the officer, I got a license, I'm armed, I'm going to get my license so you could see it because you told me, and he still got shot. Drives me insane. I don't understand it.
You had a guy selling cigarettes on the street.
Yeah.
And he ended up suffocating to death because they had to bring him down and everything. It's non-freaking stop. So I understand that you care about certain things, but I have a problem when the media goes and now they're going to talk about LeBron James and Donald Trump all day.
Yes.
While there's people literally getting shot in the street.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the media...
Because it gets the most views.
Right. The media is responsible too. I'm not a Democrat, man. I'm not a liberal. I'm not this, that, the other. I'm a person who looks at facts, sees them for what they are, and calls it out.
I don't know what I am, so nobody else can tell me. My views are all over the place.
Right. We need more people thinking independently in this country. We need more people thinking outside of what you're being told.
We need more people who are willing to work together and come to a nice, valid discussion and not think that their opinion is the end-all, be-all.
We need more of that. We need to get away from this party politics crap. That's why people ask me what I am. I say I'm independent. I
am what I am, and I am.
I is what I is. That's...
Bye-bye.
And at the very end of it, I'm not gonna go campaigning right now, but at the very end of it, you have to you gotta start, things have to start mattering. Even it doesn't matter if it's Black Lives Matter, all lives, things have to stop mattering. Right and wrong has to stop mattering, because we're not gonna get very far in this country. I don't care how good the GDP is. I don't care how good anything is. If we don't care about these things, it's going to go nowhere.
And if you can't admit, if you can't admit things are good when they're good, or bad when they're bad, or right when they're right and wrong when they're wrong, then there's something wrong with you.
Right.
Because it's that's why I say I'm a habitual fence walker. I like being the person who can say, okay, I have my views, but I'm willing to hear yours and come to a nice agreement.
And to flip the script, we've seen some cops get shot in this area, and it's the same thing. I mean, I talk about things because obviously I'm black. I care about being treated fairly as a black person in America. But there's also there's many examples of people getting shot unjustly, and we do need to just be better people.
Where it comes from. I do a lot of ancestry stuff, a lot of family history, and when you do it, you come upon a lot of old documents and a lot of old newspaper articles. The tears that I've shed from reading newspaper articles where slave owners have ads looking for their slaves that ran away. And when you're reading a census and you see that the majority of people in one particular town were black slaves, right? And there were no violence coming out of those slaves. All I could think of is, where the hell did all this fear for black people come from? They were literally the majority down south and never revolted. Dude, if I was down there, I would have been like, yo, we've gotta go after this guy and take him down so we're free. That never happened. They were fearful.
I would look at riots. I would look at
just learn history, guys.
But I'm saying I would look at riots. I would look at gang violence. There's a lot of gang violence. It's out there, man, and what gets reported in the media matters too. So the media has kind of formulated that one group of people are going to get reported a little bit more than another.
Right, but it's up to the individual to do more research. Yeah. So if you can't, but that's just the thing. Don't come to me pretending you want to have a conversation if you're not going to be that person who wants to have a conversation. If your main point is to argue with me, I'm ending the conversation. You're not worth. Have a nice day. We'll chit chat about other things, but this is not. I'm not going to debate you.
So to close, because I will tangent all day on this kind of stuff. I really can. To close, thank you for listening, everybody.
Streets are flooded all over the place.
Yeah, we should be able to do another show, but it's probably going to be better for me to start them up in September again. So we may squeeze in one more August show. But we're definitely going to be running on full cylinders, or I will be running on full cylinders. I can't speak for other people. But in September...
babies coming into my family.
Nah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I'm like an auntie grandma.
And again, I thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful weekend.
Be kind.
Get your swimming trunks out, because I think the roads...
Swimming trunks?
Yeah. I think the roads are...
Okay, Nana.
I think the roads are getting flooded out there, so be very careful, and we will see you very soon. Bye.